Amazing. Okay, we are live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke.
Hi, friends. My name's Suzanne.
We've
Welcome
got-
to Speak Purpose, Just for 24 live podcast with some amazing guests.
Yeah, we are so excited to introduce everybody to you. So we're going to jump right into it. Now I need my email. Here we go. We're going to have Amy speaking first on how to cultivate healthy relationships through this time and how that helps with relapse prevention. And then we have Jessica from A Sober Girls Guide coming up to share her tips on how to stay sober. We have Giuseppe on after that, sharing about getting resources in recovery and all about what he's doing to help the recovery community. And then we've got Jean McCarthy from the Bubble Hour podcast. She's going to share with us about how you don't have to hit a bottom to get sober and how she used digital recovery to start her journey. And Tara from the Hearth is coming to talk meditation and mental health and things you can do for your self-care and self-love.
Yes, and we have a few more. We have a young, hip and sober, I like to say, Lindsay, who's coming to share a little bit about young in sobriety, and Serge, our good friend Serge from Brother Consciousness, that he is going to come and share for the brothers and some really great tips on relapse for the guys out there. Flourish, Thrive Together. You guys are doing some really cool things this year on getting people to do things sober, and fun in the community. And we're looking forward to hearing from you, Andrea. And Bobby, where's Bobby? Bobby and Jessica. Bobby's going to take us into prayer. He's from Hope for Freedom Society. He does some amazing things in the community. And Jessica Morin, who is the most incredible singer, up and coming, pardon me, that found her voice in her recovery, that we're going to hear from her today too. And of course, Shalou, sharing from Uplift Wellness, who is going to be sharing some resources on how to get connected today if you're struggling with mental health issues or addictions. So there we go. There's our line. Oh, and we have him here, Richard Lett, who has come on just kind of checking in right now. And he is going to be sharing a poem with us, as well as he's got a new release coming out, which is called Never Be Done, that's coming out in June. So he'll be with us shortly as well. There he is.
Hey, Richard. Yeah, Richard's going to be starting us off with a poem pretty soon. And I hope that's what you're doing. That face makes it look like you're not sure. We want to invite everyone who's listening right now to throw some comments in the comment section if you have any questions during this. Some of us are going to stick around afterwards and hang out with you, and we can do a Q&A. And we have a very limited time here for everyone to share. So if anyone has anything they want to share more into and want to go in deeper with anything, you can stick around afterwards, and we're going to be hanging out after 4:30 for that. So let's get it started. Richard, welcome. You are
Hello,
my friend.
great to see you. Thank you so much for doing this and having me on. I've been sober. I'm into my 11th year of sobriety.
Woo!
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm an entertainer, a stand-up comedian, and I do music and slam poetry. And I think a lot of people deal with, when they're artists and they're trying to get sober or clean or both, is dealing with the notion that maybe their art comes from being loaded. Lots of times there are where we would get high and write something and think we were brilliant, or we'd be performing on stage and very often be using at that point. And somewhere along the line, we lost track of the fact that we might be able to do this without booze and alcohol. At a certain point, we didn't want to. It was all part of the thing. Very often in stand-up comedy, we got paid with drink tickets, and lots of times there would be free drugs involved with performances as well. And so it just became sort of woven into it. Then for me, discovering that I was alcoholic and an addict, I became worried that I might not be able to be funny or be creative in sobriety. And I think a lot of people have have had that fear. They're afraid to pick up their guitar or the paintbrush or whatever it was in their recovery, because they're afraid that they're, without being high, they might not have the mojo that they thought they got from booze and drugs. The reality is that I think that our talents manage to survive in spite of our addictions, not because of them. And very often we were able to be creative and be successful, not because we were high or loaded, but because we were talented. And, but it's a little bit daunting at first, because, being creative and producing art when you're sober requires effort and discipline and practice and all those things that, we don't like to do. Honestly, if you sort of would prefer just to sit down, get high, write a poem and go, I'm a genius, and go on from there, and never have to sit down and work at it. And, the reality is that there were a few times when we were high or drunk where we did create something that was useful, but there were many, many, many other times when we weren't. But addicts like to romanticize their relationship with drugs and alcohol, and so we would like to, see that as, that one time was the reality. The 99 times when it wasn't the reality, we don't pretend to, we don't remember that part. Oh yeah, it was the other times when I just produced crap. But there was this one time, and therefore, because addiction and drugs and alcohol, they like to convince you that they're not the problem, that they're the solution. So anyway, I remember very early on.
Hey, Richard, we are so excited to hear your poem that you recited. Are you able to share that with us? I want to hear so much more, but we have, unfortunately, limited time, and I want everybody to hear that incredible poetry that.
All right. Well, one of my heroes. This was actually the introduction to the poem. That's how long-winded I am. One of my heroes, Tom Waits, is into probably his 20th year of sobriety now. And he was asked in an interview if he thought if it was difficult for him to be creative in sobriety. And he said, well, yeah, I was afraid if I lost my angels, I would lose, if I lost my demons, I would lose my angels too. And Tom Waits, of course, famous blues singer. And so I wrote a poem called Tom's Angels, and here we go. Sneaky D's is jumping, but I'm not going in. Car stereo thumping with ancient primal sin. The headlights stretch my shadow from one wall to the next. Step syncopates staccato, but my words have all been hexed. Were my gifts all bottled and burning in the pipe, and my visions all modeled, now phrases overripe? Once liquor language poured on an endless spongy page and lifted from my boredom, giving brilliance to my rage. Oh, muse, why have you left? Now that sober I must be, clear eyes are all bereft, no inspiration do I see. Bukowski was the patron saint of vomit and of piss. Richard Pryor showed no restraint, black powder comic bliss. O'Neill, a raging boozer before his journey into night. Fitzgerald's hapless loser thought greatness was his blight. The Bloor Street patio clatters with talks of writers past, and hope and matters in heaven have all been cast. As my quest for peace and life left all my verses slayed, and dried my quill into a knife by which my poetry's betrayed, my pen's filled up with inky dread, alone in the last booth. Without the blood my heroes shed, how can I conjure truth? Dylan Thomas waxed of fading youth, Papa's pages dripped with gore. Tennessee sweated the simmering south, Poe's raven quoth nevermore. Determined not to squander this poet's thirst to quench this morning as we wandered to this Bellwood bench, that I might write one poem outside of my disease, one vision, one insight amongst the flowers and trees. Await a breeze is blowing, a message in my ear. Have faith that where you're going is not the place you fear. Do not grieve your stories unfathomed and unborn, but avenge the theft of glories from history's pages torn by dumbing with pitiful scourges of addictions unrequited, drowning with boozy dirges your pens who've lost their might. The words will come to you tonight. They've always been right there. And from the darkness they draw light, lifting hope from despair. You only need believe in pulses deeper than crystal clinking. For Tom's angels did not leave him once his piano had stopped drinking.
Beautiful. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Richard. Wonderful. And he's going to be in a documentary coming out that's released, Never Be Done, coming up in June. And we're moving along. We have our guest here for Amy. And I am excited to have you share with our listeners today. So take it over, Amy.
Yes. Oh, I just want to thank you so much for having me. And I love that you are here to start us off with that poem, because so much of my inspiration to be here now came from the artists and writers and myself as a creative, where I felt like I was going to lose my creativity if I didn't have my good old friends, drugs and alcohol in my life. So, and what I noticed right away was that what I was always craving was deep connection, with people, with myself. And what I focus on is I help people in sobriety have healthy relationships in all areas of their life. And what do we need, right? We need the connection that we're here just talking about today. And this just couldn't be more timely to talk about, because holy shit, it's hard to connect right now. And we're left with all these feelings of, oh gosh, wherever I go, there I am. Wherever I go, there I am. And how do we have healthy relationships when we choose a sober lifestyle? It's confusing. And what I noticed right away is that we weren't taught most of this when we were growing up, y'all. And so I just want to let everyone that's out there listening right now, and all of us who are here communing together, you know, it's hard without like shaking a little bit and feeling all these nervous energy and all the reasons that we used something between us and the world to connect with other people. No one taught us this stuff growing up. And so to truly have real connection, real solid connection, we have to relearn a lot of things. And like Richard said, you know, a lot of us don't want to do that work sometimes. We're like, dang it, I don't have those drugs and alcohol anymore. Why aren't my relationships just working? And what I know from my story is that, you know, I started on this journey of healing, and I didn't even know that I was going to have to give up drugs and alcohol to get to where I wanted to go. But that's what I started to lean into so deeply. And then when I did choose to get sober, every time that I went back into my behaviors, it was because of a relationship. Every time it was like there was some kind of rupture in my relationship, and there I went back to seeking something outside of me. So what can you do right now if that's up for you? If this idea that like, oh, it's a better idea, it's the best idea for me to go back to that coping mechanism, because it's coming up right now all over the place. And we're reading about this, we're seeing this, and maybe you just don't know how to have a healthy relationship. And so thing one is like, let yourself off the hook. This is not easy stuff. Relating to other humans is not easy, because we all come with our stuff, all of our stuff, and everyone has a unique experience. Yes, we all have in common being sober and choosing a conscious sober lifestyle, or whatever you call it. However, it doesn't mean that we didn't all have kind of that trauma and that pain and all the things that we show up in relationships with. So thing one is just let yourself off the hook. The second thing that I really like to encourage people to do is tell on yourself. You know, like as soon as I am in a new relationship with anyone, I'm like, y'all, I'm really nervous right now. Oh my God, I'm like shaking inside, and I might look like I have it all together, but I don't. And you know, it's okay to tell on yourself, because that is going to automatically calm your nervous system down and let you come back to your breath. And just coming back to your breath is going to help you to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and this is really scary, and it's okay. And it's going to help the other person that you're relating to, that you're in a relationship with, just like go, okay, cool. And the third thing to do is know that it's really natural, right? Like for me, I had patterns of using drugs and alcohol to escape myself and to put something between me and the world for over 25 years before I gave it up, right? Like it's something that was patterned in me. So learning to have conversations and to connect deeply with other people is your pattern to go, I can't do this, let me put something between me and the world, is going to come up. And how can you collect your tribe of people that you really trust, that you can be really honest with, that aren't going to judge you, that aren't going to, what we call trigger, right? That aren't going to activate your nervous system, that you're going to be able to be like, ugh, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I feel my pattern coming up. I feel that urge to use, I feel that craving, and I don't want to go back to it. How can you ask with this clear, concise, compassionate way, I need some help around here? Because y'all, relationships are how we heal. Relationships are how we heal. We need one another. We physically, biologically need one another in order to heal. And we need the creativity and all the things that we're all going to talk about today. And it's so, so, so important. So while relationships can be the most challenging thing in your life, they're also the one thing that is going to take you to that next level. And they're the most fulfilling thing because they lead you to your passion. They lead you to your purpose. They lead you to your play, which is how we heal. And it's so possible to live this way and to do these things without going back to those old behaviors. If you can tell on yourself, if you can just be like, this is so weird, and just let it be weird. You know, I like to compare it to like having sex with someone for the first time. It's like, oh my gosh, now we're naked. And it's like, this is so weird. And that's what's happening when we choose to not have drugs and alcohol in between us in the world anymore. We're naked, and showing up vulnerably is what it's all about.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Awesome. We got Jessica coming up next. Jessica, would you like to share?
There we go. Wow, Amy, killing it right out the gate. Richard, wow, that is a tough act to follow. I am not prepared for this. I'm gonna just be super honest with you. I think, and it's kind of funny, the past couple of weeks, you know, obviously with our whole situation of the world, I have been really tested, like, and I'm talking physically tested, which I've never really had experienced before in my sobriety. And it just makes me realize how, like, the systems that I have put in place for myself really work. We're really testing out the systems right now. I'll just kind of, I guess, give you a little bit of an insight of what I've been dealing with. Domestic abuse. Really fun. Not at all. Yeah, I was attacked by a roommate of mine who was, surprise, surprise, drunk. And to my kind of like surprise, I was actually prepping for a segment to do on the news to talk about how alcohol has been affecting people's minds and spirits during this whole COVID thing, and how in correlation, domestic abuse is up 300%. So I, you know, firsthand experienced that. I have never experienced that form of abuse, which was really terrifying, but I'm not going to say I'm grateful, because I mean, no one deserves to be punched in the face. But I do feel good about myself and my practices and my systems that I have put in place that have kept me sober, and that, you know, through all these trials and tribulations have really shown up for me. These are like extreme times that I never thought I would deal with, because I'm sober, and who would have to deal with something like that, right? But this is life, and, you know, life doesn't stop going or stop being odd or, you know, irrational just because you're sober. Unfortunately, we can't make everyone around us sober as well. I wish I had a magic wand sometime to be like, yo, put that drink down. But that's not how shit works. That's not how any of this works. So when I talk about systems, I mean, and I talk about this in my book called Save Your Own Damn Life. Number one, your body. Really simple, straightforward. What are you putting into your body? Food. How are you exercising? How are you moving your body? exercise has literally been my saving grace right now, because also that's kind of one thing that I can control to an extent. Number two, your mind. You know, what thoughts are ruminating through your mind? Is your inner wine witch just popping off at you? Your mind is so powerful. You are the gatekeeper to what is between your ears. So you gotta tame that wine witch, tame that negative train of thought. Number three, connection. My connection to people around me, to myself, to a higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, call her, him, her, it, whatever, frog, rock, whatever. Totally cool. But know that there is something bigger than yourself. This took me a little while to figure out that I wasn't the end all be all, but you know what? Now it takes off so much pressure that I'm not the only one who is in control of this great, big, beautiful world of ours. It's actually very relieving. And number four, productivity. How are we moving forward? How are we expanding in our lives, in our environments, in our relationships, in our connections? You know, doesn't have to be a sprint. One foot in front of the other is going to move you forward. So how are you expanding and how are you being productive towards your goals and in your life? So I know these things work because whenever I stop doing them, shit gets crazy. It's like legs on a chair, right? If you don't have all four legs somewhat even, the chair becomes rocky and unsturdy, and you're like, oh god, like, is it gonna break today? Is this the day we're gonna lose a leg? You gotta keep them all secure, all solid, and you're gonna have a beautiful foundation to sit upon for years and the rest of your life. So honestly, I like to keep it simple because I am very lazy. I don't like to mess around too much. I need something. 4 was really cutting it close, to be honest. Like, that was what I could whittle it down to. I don't like to beat around the bush. I like to get to the point as directly as possible because I have a very short attention span and I'm lazy. So those were the 4 things that really helped me feel safe, secure, and have been the bedrock of my sobriety and my recovery. So that's kind of all I got.
It's amazing, Jessica. Thank you so much. I love how you describe recovery and tools and stuff. It makes it easy for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super smart. I don't use big words because I just can't get there. I need something simple to the point. Let's move on.
Thanks for your honesty and your vulnerability. Really, really awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get Giuseppe up next.
Hey everyone, hello, my name is Giuseppe and I'm an addict. Hi everyone. Happy to be here, happy to hear all these conversations. It's wonderful. And I just want to start off by talking about how resilient the people in recovery are in the 12-step community. I'm super grateful to be part of such a vibrant community. When on March 13th, I remember when news started spilling everywhere that things are going to change in Canada and the community centers and church basements and all that started to close down to the public. There was a fear, like, where are we going to meet? Where's my home group going to be at? And that's when I realized that this could be a big problem for people in recovery. I work for an organization called Last Star Recovery Society, co-host a radio show called Talk Recovery, organize a few events in the city like Clean, Sober, and Proud and Recovery Day. So a lot of what I do involves people and connection. And we all know the famous talk, connection is the opposite of addiction. And it's like, holy smokes, that's cut now, the connection part. So within 48 hours, the recovery community just said, you know what, like, we've been through hell. We've been through lots of issues and problems, we will get through this. And people came to the rescue, just like people came to the rescue when I needed to get clean. It wasn't healthcare, it wasn't government. If I had to rely on healthcare and government, I'd probably be dead. It was people, one addict to another, just took the problem and turned it into a solution. And next thing you know, the stock of Zoom went up huge because everybody started downloading it, and he made a few billion. But the reality is we were resilient, and we found a solution, because that's what recovery is about. It's like, let's find a solution. And the next day, there's meetings everywhere, and every day there's home groups run by volunteers have revolutionized again the way people get clean and sober in North America. And that's a powerful statement, because if we had to wait around and we had to let somebody else do it for us, like, it just wouldn't be the same. But when I'm on a meeting last night and I'm listening and my heart's open, and I realize, like, it's just a bunch of volunteers, figuring out how this works. It's a pretty powerful thing. We used to not even be able to get a day clean, and now we're like organizing meetings. I was in a meeting the other day where there was like 1,000 people in it, and the lie is dead. People recover, and we do get clean. We do get sober. And in a world where there's unfortunately camps of harm reduction and safe supply and decriminalization, and sometimes even the abstinence community is its own camp. When we have all these camps, we're all fighting for our voices to be heard. It's nice to know that at the end of the day, people still care. And there's just a lot of calm. Even when I think about it, I just get calm, because I can get lost in the Donald Trump memes and this is the end of the world, and the toilet paper saga. Like, I can get lost in all that. Like, I like to try and figure shit out, and I had to do some recovery around that. Even if Giuseppe or even if Jessica figures out what's going on with COVID-19, like, what are we gonna do? Like, so I've decided to stop trying to figure it out, and how to live in the moment with society, and do the best I can, because I ain't gonna figure it out. And if I do figure it out, I don't want the responsibility I just don't even want that responsibility. And it just shows, because there's a new Cochrane review that just came out. Cochrane is a body that analyzes research, and just right before this pandemic, there was this new study that shows, they researched 27 studies, and it shows that the 12-step programs is one of the best opportunities for North America's addiction crisis, which includes the overdose crisis. And there's a lot of power in that. It's like, these studies are coming out, the recovery community is being resilient and gathering online. Like, we were invisible. Like, that's a picture of Recovery Day behind us. Like, that's hundreds and hundreds of volunteers over many, many years, putting the energy into that. When that all started, it was hard to get 50 people together, and now we have thousands, and that's the resilience. And like, we find a purpose, and it's okay to recover out loud, and now we kind of need to recover out loud. So I'm extremely proud of that. My personal and work life is meshed in together, and I do my best at trying to be healthy in that. But I'm sad. Pride is canceled this year. Well, they say it's not canceled. It needs to be reinvented. And I love all these soft terms, but at the end of the day, it's canceled. And Recovery Day isn't confirmed if it's canceled, but the chances of it happening are going to be really difficult in September. So we're waiting to see what happens. The conference we organized, like, this was going to be the biggest recovery month, Canada. We were already in the works of making it, like, people power, and so I'm sad, but we practice recovery, and we find solutions. And you know what? Once we get clean and sober, the one best gift that we get, that I've gotten, is time. So, like, I don't have to rush to get my next fix. I don't have to rush to, like, I don't live in these 24-hour manic hours anymore. It's like, okay, it's not going to happen on my time or our committee's time, but it's going to happen, and it's just going to be bigger and better, and the old addict way, and bolder, and all that other kind of stuff, and faster. And so we'll wait and see what happens to all that. If you're struggling with addiction, or you have a loved one that's struggling with addiction, there's the CACCF, it's the Canadian Federation of Addiction Counselors. They're offering free counseling for people with addictions. You can always go to the CSSA website, Canadian Center on Substance Use, and they have some great blogs on dealing with anxiety and so forth. Lots of resources out there. I belong to quite a few different stakeholder meetings, from federal to municipal to provincial governments, and with the Minister of Health, and everyone's trying. We're at a really interesting point right now. Like there's safe supply of drugs, in the market, and the recovery movement in Canada is really doing its part, trying to make sure that we don't end up with a two-tiered healthcare system in Canada, where if you're rich, you go to a private abstinence-based treatment center, and if you're poor, you go to a funded harm reduction facility with safe supply. And your airline pilots aren't getting safe supply. They're going to abstinence-based treatment centers. So we want to make sure that people on welfare and people that aren't high up in financial capital get the same access that the doctors that are prescribing safe supply get. Because a doctor addicted to heroin, he's also getting abstinence-based treatment. I know they are. And we want to make sure that's equal for everybody. So if anybody's listening, I'm not against safe supply. I'm against equal care. I mean, I'm not against that. I'm for equal care. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets the same equal approach to their wishes. And that's the Canadian way that we're fighting for. That's what that's for. And they all did it, and anybody can do it. So with that, I'll take another 24, and everybody, enjoy the day today, and no matter what that looks like for you, isolation, social distancing, like I said earlier, we've got time to enjoy these 24 hours due to recovery. So let's live it up. Thank you, everyone.
That's so incredible, Giuseppe. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am just like, riled up. Come on now. Now, the next guest that we have is Jean McCartney. And I know that, Jessica, you're talking about being this is a hot grandma right here. Sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I just said that live. I am so sorry.
I'll take it. Love it. Wow. Is that my introduction?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jean McCarthy. I'm a woman in successful long-term recovery from alcohol addiction. It has been just over 9 years since the day my life was changed forever. And I'm so grateful. I was asked to talk a little bit about the low bottom versus high bottom situation. And that really refers to the idea that someone has to have a rock bottom experience before they can get sober. And this is kind of an old stereotype or an idea that I had understood just from what little I knew about addiction and recovery was really from movies and pop culture, from what I grew up with. And unfortunately, that wasn't particularly informative or enlightening. And so I really was of the belief that before someone could get sober, they had to have a rock bottom experience, something terrible had to happen, and then their life would be changed after that. And even though I was stuck in this cycle throughout my 30s where I really wanted to quit drinking, every morning I woke up and said, today is going to be the day I'm going to stop. And by 2 o'clock, I would convince myself, or my addiction would convince me, you know what, this isn't the day, because this is a great day and I want to celebrate. This is a terrible day and I need to commiserate. We're having company and I need to entertain. I could always find a reason why today was not going to be the day. And if I didn't find a reason, the little voice in my head would say, but don't forget, you haven't hit rock bottom, so you don't need to quit. Rock bottom was nowhere in sight. So I kept drinking. And a decade went by. And instead of being a busy mom in my 30s, I was becoming a woman in my 40s who was really asking myself, was I the woman I wanted to be? And alcohol was running my life and I couldn't quit. And I had an epiphany. And the epiphany was that it was really a feeling more than words. I just knew I need to quit drinking because I knew it was going to kill me. That's what it does. And I later heard a saying that maybe some of you have heard before, but it was new to me. And it put that epiphany that I couldn't put words to, it put words to it. And it was this: your addiction wants you dead, but it'll settle for making you miserable. I didn't want to be miserable. I didn't want my kids to be miserable. I didn't want my marriage to be miserable. And I sure as heck didn't want to be dead. And the epiphany was that I could just quit. I could say no to that voice in my head that told me I had to hit rock bottom. And we don't tell people that are smoking that want to quit that they need to smoke a pack a day before they can quit. We don't tell people that are wondering if they should lose weight that they have to be at least 25 pounds or more overweight before they can change their eating habits. Why does society have this idea that we have to have some terrible low bottom experience before we can embrace an abstinence-based form of recovery? And so I really embraced that and started making changes. And as I said, I started blogging on my very first day of sobriety. That was back in 2011. And recovery blogging was something quite new at that time. And my blog is called Unpickled. And I just started writing what every day was like without alcohol. And day by day, my life was changed. And I'm still writing about it. 9 years later, I've written a book. I've got another book coming out this summer of poetry about recovery. Last year, I wrote a book called The Unpickled Holiday Survival Guide about getting through the most difficult time of the year with your sobriety intact. And I'm just so grateful. So after struggling through my 30s, getting back on my feet in my 40s, now I'm in my 50s and I'm a grandma. And I'm so proud to be the woman that I was meant to be and to be just the matriarch of my family in a way that I'm honored to be. I feel like I'm living fully within my capacity, and that being alcohol free is just emphasis on the free. That's what I always say, emphasis on the free. I thought sobriety was going to be a life of lack and of sadness, that I'd be a sad sack and no fun. And the truth is I'm unencumbered by this ball and chain that I was dragging around with me everywhere I went. So I am so grateful to be sober, and I'm just so grateful to be sharing my story. And my mic.
Thank you so much, Jean. That was incredible. Her podcast is going to be coming out soon. We had her come on as a guest for Seek Purpose. So make sure you stick around, check out the Seek Purpose and look for it, because her story is so incredible. You want to hear the whole thing. And we got Lindsay coming up next. You want to share, Lindsay?
Unmute myself. Hi, friends. My name's Lindsay, and I'm an alcoholic. I just wanted to say thank you to Brooke and Suzanne for asking me to come on here today. I think I'm just going to share a little bit about what life was like for me growing up and how I found sobriety and what things are like now. So I'm 29 years old currently, and my sobriety date is June 6, 2016. So I'm almost 4 years sober. And if you asked, thank you, Suzanne. If you asked me where I thought I would be when I was a young girl, I never thought that I would be self-proclaiming myself as an alcoholic, and I never thought that I'd be in this position that I am today. But I'm definitely grateful that I'm here, and I'll tell you why. I didn't have a traumatic childhood. I grew up in a super normal home. My parents worked really hard, and we had everything we needed and most things we wanted. We traveled lots. I had the clothes I wanted, and on the outside, it looked like everything was like I had everything that was going on. But on the inside, I never felt right. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I never felt a part of, and I so desperately wanted relief from that. I wanted to feel included, and I wanted to feel heard, and I didn't know how to manage that. So often I was a very angry child. I self-isolated away from my family. I controlled the temperature of my household based on how I was feeling that day. And, you know, there was this saying in my household growing up that you have to tiptoe around Lindsay because you don't know what you're going to get. And that was it. I was explosive. Some days I was nice and other days I was an awful human being. And I didn't feel right. So I was constantly trying to find something outside of myself that made me feel okay inside. And as a young girl, that I got that relief from food. I was allergic to dairy, and so holiday time I got pretend chocolate. So I'd steal my sister's chocolate and I would hide behind the couch and I'd eat it all until I got sick. And, you know, I did that every single year, and I got a little bit older, and that obsession of food turned into attention from boys. I started wearing low-cut t-shirts, saying outlandish things to get attention from boys my age. And you know, that attention or that relief I got from food gave me a slight break of feeling uncomfortable. And in that moment, it made me feel okay. And I also sought relief through materialistic things. I'd become obsessed with this new purse, or I'd become obsessed with something new and shiny that I needed. And when I got it, that relief was there temporarily, but then it would pass again. And eventually, as I came into my summer of grade 8, so teenage years, I found alcohol. I remember the first time I drank vividly, which I don't know if normal people remember the first drink, but I definitely remember mine. It was the summer of grade 8, and all my friends were having their first kiss. And of course, because I wanted to fit in and feel a part of, I had told everyone I had my first kiss at a summer camp I never went to with a boy who didn't exist. But I was terrified to have my actual first kiss. So I had a girlfriend sleeping over at the time, and we went to my parents' liquor cabinet and filled a little bottle with a little bit of every kind of alcohol. And off we went to this boy's house, and that night, you know, something magical happened. I drank for the first time, and I had my first kiss, and I wish I could tell you how great everything was, but I remember nothing. And that moment kind of depicts what my drinking looked like moving forward. I definitely overdrank always throughout high school. I was looking for opportunities to get super drunk, and I didn't have a stop. Like once I had one drink, I would have all the drinks and I'd do outlandish things, and you know, and that cycle just repeated into my adult years until you know, there's a saying that says your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, as I got older, like I was an absolute mess. I was very insecure. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, and I attracted abusive alcoholic men. So I went from one abusive alcoholic relationship to another abusive alcoholic relationship. And I always thought, because these men were drinking every day, that they were the alcoholics, that they had the problem. And I never looked at myself and how I was drinking ever until the day before my sobriety date. So fast forward a whole bunch more, there's a lot of drinking, and I'm not drinking every day at this point. I'm drinking multiple times a week, and it wasn't how much I was drinking, it was how I was drinking. Once I had one, I absolutely could not stop. It was like this burning desire inside of me that I had to just keep putting alcohol into my system in order to feel some sort of relief. And the last night out of drinking, I be brief, I wound up being arrested, facing charges, attempting suicide, and in a hospital. And I didn't think I had a problem. I never once thought I had a problem. When my sister and my mom picked me up from jail, I remember the conversation being like, hey, I think it's time that you start looking at your drinking. And my response was, I don't have a problem. My boyfriend at the time, he has a problem. He drinks every day. Alcoholics drink every day. And you know, that notion of thinking I don't have a problem because I don't drink every day, all of a sudden turned into, how can I get out of this? I'm facing charges. I moved out at 19 and put myself through school, and now I'm going to lose the opportunity to become a teacher because of this, and I'm going to lose my job with the city because of this. So it turned into kind of game face for me. Like, I'm going to create this imaginary list of how I can pretend that I have my life together to make it look like I have everything in order on the outside. So I started attending Alcoholics Anonymous. I pretended to have a sponsor. I went to counseling. I got on medication. I met with my doctor regularly. It was like I was doing these things just to make it look like I was okay. But really, I wasn't okay. And fortunate enough, I ended up meeting some women in recovery who kind of took me under their wing and showed me this whole world that I didn't even know existed. I wound up going through I'm in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I know it's anonymous program, so we're not supposed to say that, but that program really taught me a way of life that I didn't even know that you could live. And at a year and a half sober, I finally started doing the steps, and I finally started doing the work, and things really started to change for me. I didn't have that feeling of not feeling comfortable in my own skin, and I didn't have that feeling of like irritability and on edge and anxious. I started seeking relief through a power greater than myself, and I started to feel good on the inside. So I wanted to do things that kept me feeling good, and that's kind of where I got involved in the fitness community. Like, the next progression of my sobriety and personal growth and spiritual growth was continuing to fuel my body, my mind, and my soul with things that made me feel better. And yeah, I don't know, it's been an absolute incredible journey from not realizing what was wrong with me to today having a sense of calm and serenity and peace inside of my heart that I never had growing up. And I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful to be here, and I hope that made sense to some people. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lindsay. I love seeing your face. It's so good to catch up.
I miss you.
Yeah, you're such a busy lady. You're running around all over the place, just doing so much with your sobriety. It's so awesome to see. Right, I'm so sorry. I skipped over Tara. You were supposed to be sharing next, but can we get you now?
Thanks, Linz.
Of course, I'm here. And it's such a pleasure to be here. And I'm just so grateful to be in the proximity of so many amazing humans who have such a message to share of hope. I'm a bit overwhelmed. So I am so grateful to be here. And I was asked to share a little bit about one of the tools that is in my toolbox that helps me to manage in my sobriety and just in my daily experience. I'm so grateful that I am just over 3 years sober, and it's truly been a journey. And it is, for me, first and foremost, it's come down to a journey of self-love, which is something that's taken me a really, really long time to get. In my addiction, all I wanted to do was escape myself, escape anything to do with being inside of my body. And so now, having moved through some healing and working with tools that are in my toolbox, one of the most tangible tools that I've found to use is meditation. And this is something that anyone can employ at any time. You don't need money to practice meditation. You just need you. And you just can sit, you can lie down, you can walk, you can make it your own practice and whatever feels right for you. And I think that when I first came to think about using meditation as a practice, I came in thinking I'm already terrible at it. because it sounds like this, it sounds really, to me, it sounded unachievable. I was in such a space of disarray and just unable to just be, that it just, and then when I think meditation, I think of these people who go sit in a cave for days and just sit and be, and that is meditation, and it looks different to that too. It doesn't have to just be that. And so I would encourage you, if you are struggling to put into place a meditation practice, to step back and notice if you're holding preconceived notions about what meditation is, because it can be whatever you want it to be. It can look however you want it to look. Ultimately, it's a practice of awareness. It's a practice of surrender. It's a practice of release, of control. And it's a practice. It's not something that one sits down and gets just like that. It's a practice. No one would expect you to go and put on ice skates and be able to skate like NHL players, right? That's what this is. And so just understanding that at the outset. And I would just like to say next, as a really, really major point that has really landed for me in my practice, is that meditation is not about having no thoughts. The brain is meant to think. This is what it does. When I say that it's a practice of awareness, it's about stepping back and just noticing the thoughts. And the practice of meditation supports me in my recovery, in my maintaining of my sobriety, because it teaches me this. And it teaches me this in 3 very main ways that I'd like to outline. The first thing it teaches me is to release expectations of what my practice is going to look like when I sit down, of if I'm going to have thoughts and if I'm going to get caught up in them. It just releasing expectations of what my practice will look like. And as I cultivate this, I start noticing out in my everyday life in sobriety, suddenly I'm starting to release expectations in my everyday life. Like, it's okay to not be okay today in COVID when everything is going crazy in the world. I'm going to release that expectation that I'm supposed to show up in a certain way today. And okay, I'm having a great day. That's okay. I'm going to release this expectation that I'm supposed to be in this down in the dumps because the world is what it is right now. And so when we start just practicing sitting with ourselves for 10 minutes, we start to see these seeds be planted in our life. So releasing expectations when we come to sit and practice, and we see that start to manifest in our world. Releasing outcomes of our practice in meditation. Oh, I'm going to become a realized being. Oh, I'm going to, just be at peace for the rest of my days because I sit in meditation. Oh, I'm going to be successful today, whatever successful looks like. Or perhaps you're coming in with the outcome that you think you'll fail. Releasing these outcomes and just coming to be in a space. And again, we see these ripples, this effect in our exterior lives as we cultivate this practice, where we start releasing outcomes. Like if you want to try something new and you don't know how it's going to turn out, but maybe you take the risk because you're not so set on, I have to succeed. Maybe the journey is the destination. These are things, these are seeds that are planted in a practice of meditation. the final thing and the most important thing, and like the absolute bread and butter of my practice, is a release of self-judgment. So when I sit down to meditate and I'm getting caught up in a thought, and my brain's racing, and the first instinct for me might be to say, wow, you're really bad at this. And just speaking down and judging myself. And we get to, in meditation, practice releasing that. Just, you know, the voice may still be there, but we may choose not to put weight on that voice anymore. And this is self-love. Because would we say that to our best friend or our loved one who's meditating if they had exactly the same experience as we did? Would we berate them? No. So just acknowledging that and then being as kind as we would to others, to ourselves. And again, we see this ripple out in our daily lives. If we make a mistake, we're not going to be super hard on ourselves. And it's a practice. And there are so many ways, like I say, to meditate. Like there's kind of 3 major categories. You can use a point of focus. So you can sit or lie down or walk. You can focus on your breath. You can focus on something, a point of focus that's visual, like a candle flame. You can use a point of focus that's music, like a mantra perhaps. You can do a moving meditation. You can do a mindfulness meditation. There's guided meditations online for free if you want to access something guided. Essentially, meditation is a practice of awareness and just cultivating awareness, just as we do as we're coming to be sober, when we're triggered and we go to reach for that drink or reach for that Band-Aid that we've always reached for. We're cultivating awareness in our sobriety of our triggers and how do we change the way we approach this. Meditation is exactly the same. We're just cultivating this awareness, and maybe it's just a little bit more subtle than what, you know, we first experience coming into sobriety. But this is how we maintain our recovery, is by noticing those subtle pieces and ultimately coming back to a space of unconditional love for self. And so if there's any if I can be of any support, please let me know. And I'm just so very grateful to be here and to share, and much, much love to you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Her business is called From the Hearth. I definitely encourage you to go look her up. Just a lot of amazing content. And I've actually snooped you on TikTok recently, and it's oddly satisfying watching you make your candles.
It's a lot of fun to share.
Thanks, Tara. We need some male energy. No offense to all of us ladies, but come on, Serge, bring it home for the guys, okay? Bobby's like, come on, we need some male.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Serge.
Hey, guys, I'm Serge. I'm representing the Conscious Brotherhood here today, so I am talking to all the men, but all the ladies as well, of course, because I think it all really applies, but I was asked to speak about men's recovery here, and yeah, where to begin? A lot of work that we do at the Conscious Brotherhood is about healing the boy within. So when we come up and we're living our lives and we're born and we have all these experiences, and whether you're coming in with stuff or you've been born with stuff or you've experienced things in your lives, we kind of get shut down at a certain place in our life. I like to say that life has 4 seasons. So we have spring, we have summer, we have fall, we have winter. And a lot of times we might be 60 years old, 70 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, but we're still kind of living our life from where that trauma kind of took over around 6, 7, maybe around 12, whatever may have happened to you. So a lot of work that we do there is about healing these traumas and healing these wounds so that we can live our life from a full and present place here and now. The personal work that I've been doing for the last little bit, and the big stuff that we've been talking about, is about filling our cup up, right? Because if we don't have anything in our cup, we have nothing to give to the world. The way that I live my life is that I'm an actor in the city as well. And I actually found a lot of power at one point at being very fucking angry and being very, very driven by that to show everybody what I can do. And I had some success with it. I started booking things, I started working, and I'm going, yeah, now I got something, right? That ego rage, that ego fulfillment of some form of power, but it was never enough. And at the end of the day, what was it really? It was sacrifice. It was sacrificing myself, sacrificing my health. Drinking and using was a big part. I love what I heard earlier from our slam poetry brother about, you know, it was a part of the lifestyle, right? I get off stage or I get off camera and I immediately go and drink and use. And that got to a place where I completely burnt out and shut down. And I remember when I came in and I really wanted to get some help, and I asked something for help that I had no idea what I was asking for. And I always knew, right? I've always been reading all these spiritual books in my life, and I've always been very interested in this stuff. And there was something that I just couldn't click by, and it was that I had made my best friend drinking and drugging, because that made me feel good. It worked really well at the beginning, and then it didn't work at all. And that part really sucked, because that was my best friend. And a beautiful thing happened through all that kind of destruction. And I want to talk about, like, what's the word I'd use? Being reborn, right? Or, you know, growth, coming to life. I had this beautiful connection happen with, you know, whatever words you want to use, spirit, universe, God. And from there, I started to do work, but still really wanted to run through everything. I still had that old mentality that I just got, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get over there and it's going to be good. Like, once I get that family, or once I get that house and I get that money, it's going to be good, right? Yeah, God, I'm trusting, but I'm going here. And I remember hitting just another little bit of a bottom, an emotional bottom. And this last little bit, coming back to my point, what I made at the beginning, was when I started the Conscious Brotherhood, the big thing I recognized is the healing of the child within, little Serge within. And it's a big thing that a lot of guys just haven't been taught to talk about. They haven't been taught to talk about their feelings. I always felt very comfortable with it being an actor, right? I felt very powerful in my, I don't know what you want to say, my vulnerability. But men being vulnerable with other men and being able to be like, hey, brother, you know what, man, I'm feeling really depressed today. I'm feeling really sad today. And to have another man look at you and say, hey, I honor that. That's a beautiful aspect of what we do there. And we do the work around that from there, right? Tara was talking beautifully about meditation. We do many meditation, spiritual practices. And then we focus on what kind of relationship we want to have with the world around us, with the people around us. And then we go and we look at what kind of relationship do we want to have with ourselves and with our spirit. Because at the end of the day, once we have that relationship solid, everything in our life gets better. This is the little things that I've been starting to notice myself, you know, just during the practices and the little, I'll call them processes, but there's little things that we do, right? Depending on what someone's going through, we'll use intuition in the moment and help them through it. This has been a beautiful time, though. I hope everybody out there is taking the time to love themselves right now. I have never experienced this much love for myself. I had no idea that walking in a park and offering gratitude and love to Mother Earth, or sitting down just like, and being and, like, you know, holding myself the way that I want to be held by somebody else. Nobody ever told me that growing up. No one ever told little Serge that, hey man, you know what? We can hold ourselves the way we want to be held. We can love ourselves the way we want to be loved. And if we're feeling sad, if we're feeling these shadow aspects of us, it's okay, right? It's a part of it. I was never told any of this. And I've spoken a lot about my trauma and stuff like that, but, like, the things that have come up for me lately is just being okay with that, right? And being okay with that. And I speak to the ladies in the room as well as the men here. This isn't just a man thing. I do know a lot of men just haven't been told that they're allowed to feel these feelings and allowed to be these person, or be the person that they want to be. Because at the end of the day, what do we all want? I know what I want is I want to be authentic. I want to be loving, right? I want to be authentic and loving. And I always ask people, right, what do they want in their life? And they'll come up with words. I want this. And I go, okay, let's peel the layers. Let's peel the layers. Let's peel the layers. And eventually we usually get to the same place. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel content. And I want to be happy and loving towards others. And something that I'm starting to actually really, man, it's coming to full bloom right now, actually, during this whole COVID thing, is that I've taken the time to really sit with myself and be like, oh, it's okay to be me. I didn't know that. And I've been having little experiences here and there, right? But to be actually able to sit with myself and be like, oh, I can be my authentic self. That feels really good. Because before, I don't know if anybody else felt like this, but for me especially, I can definitely speak for myself, is that I'm going to be the way someone else wants me to be so I can have what I feel I need. And what I need is safety, security. I need some form of, like, someone, please tell me I'm okay. And I found that with drugs and alcohol, it never questioned me. You know what I mean? It was always right there. And then I kind of burnt all that down. But being able to sit with myself and give myself these things has been a really huge, huge thing. And I hope, and I can feel it's happening for me, but that it'll allow me to live with a more authentic presence in the world. And that's what I want to offer, and that's what we offer at the Conscious Brotherhood. We want to be a group of awakened men living with authenticity, peace, and love in our hearts, and helping others. And if anybody during this time is struggling, please reach out to us and talk to us. We do a group meeting every single week on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And yeah, I want to really say, like, I just want to speak from my heart, is like, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be you and to love you, and take that time, man. Take yourself on that date. You got plenty of time right now, plenty of time. Go spend time in nature and be with yourself. It's a beautiful thing.
Right on. Thank you so much, Serge.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
That was so great. Thanks, Serge. And we've got, just for those of you who are listening, we just want to let you guys know, thank you so much. And today's just really just a day that we've picked to really just embrace who you are, as everybody's kind of talking, sharing your story, coming out live and loud. As Giuseppe said, that it's real important now that those of us who are in isolation, who are home alone, can turn on and maybe be a friend of a friend of a friend that's watching you, that you're able to just come out and just say who you are and be proud. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming and listening, and who shared so far. You guys are real special. So with that, we're going to go with Andrea to share just a little bit of things going on in the society now in regards to doing things sober.
Hi, everybody.
And sobriety. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me here. Like, wow, Suzanne, what a movement. 4 for 24, just 4. I remember when you were talking about it, and then now it's happening. So you are a manifester and powerful. So I'm so grateful to be here among all these amazing people. So I'm Andrea. I'm one of the founders of a women's group called Flourish, Thrive Together. How this kind of all came about, again, we've all been talking about like a power greater than ourselves, creating something bigger than even me. I never expected to be sitting here in this moment on this podcast, but there's, a reason why I'm here and a purpose. And it's so exciting. And I mean, a little bit about my history, I guess, sorry, my cats are really annoying. And first time on something like this, and she's trying to get in the door. Apologize about the noise. Yeah, so my story would basically be, I grew up in an environment that alcohol was part of life. It's just what we did. I mean, I grew up in a family that we loved to party. We loved to have fun. That, it wasn't like it was really wrong. It was just, that's how I lived my life. And, my parents liked to drink and have parties. And then I got into the restaurant industry, and that was one big party. And then after the restaurant industry, my next industry was, a lot of it was having to be around alcohol, and alcohol was really involved. So moving forward, I mean, in my life, when I look back, I kind of equate alcohol to fun. That's how I had fun. That's what we did to have fun. And I did have a lot of fun. But eventually, as like we know, time went on, and the fun times weren't outweighing the other side of things that were happening. So I kind of hit a point, I've learned life one way, and I've been doing life a certain way for a really long time. And up until about 2017, when I started to realize my relationship with alcohol actually was unhealthy, and it was causing more problems than doing good, I started to recognize, there could be an issue here, but you don't know until you know. And now I know what I know. There's definitely a problem, but I just didn't know it at that time. But I was on a journey of self-discovery. Long story short, I took an Eat, Pray, Love solo trip to Bali, just, to work on some healing. And that was, my journey. But I also, traveling alone was kind of scary. So I figured no better time to try to be sober. I can't go on these trips and drink, especially if I'm traveling alone. And I arrived in Ubud at this beautiful yoga retreat. And when I got there, it was during the time of the volcano. So this whole resort was actually empty. All these people I was going to meet, nobody was there. And it was just us. And I saw that you could order wine on the menu. And here I am at a yoga retreat thinking, oh, great, I can order wine. And then when I found out that I could, like, it wasn't allowed, I was like, oh, how am I going to have fun? You know, and it hit me like that. How do you possibly, I'm like, this is different than any other trip. My trips would be to Mexico, drinking poolside and partying, right? So now here I am in Bali on a spiritual trip. And I'm like, I really got to step up and do this. And it just so happened that it was great. It was a small group. I connected with some amazing women. We talked in great lengths about alcohol. It's when I started to open up that it was kind of an issue for me. And what I learned in Bali, I was like, oh my gosh, I can have fun. And not only fun, I can have so much fun in a sober environment. And I loved every minute of this trip. It turned out to be one of my most favorite trips. And during a meditation, I was also learning how to meditate, and it is very hard, and to sit for 10 minutes. But at one moment, I just had this like download where all I wanted to do, and I could envision we need to bring Bali back to Vancouver. I wish everybody can experience this type of life. I got to wake up every day, eat a good breakfast, do meditation, yoga, be around supportive people. And I was just like, I realized I was the happiest I had ever been. I wasn't Andrea, realtor, or this or that. I was me, just me, and getting to do things that I loved and actually having a lot of fun. And really, but it wasn't even about fun. It was the connection with the people. It was so much deeper and greater than it had ever been just going to a bar and meeting somebody and the night partying together and it being over. It was just such a different, the connection I realized I formed was so much deeper and greater and at a higher level. So fast forward, when I got home again, I continued on this journey, and like, I believe truly there is a power greater than ourselves guiding us. And my journey led me to Suzanne, who I'd known for years, but I got to know her in a different way. And through meeting Suzanne and through, recovery programs and the people I've met, I ended up forming, I had this vision in Bali. The download was, I wanted to bring Bali back and have a place where people could come and do things together, bring that fun in Bali, yoga, meditation, but we had a lot of fun. We did things together in Bali. We experienced life together. So kind of Flourish was born, and I had a tough decision to make because I did my first Flourish pilot test run where I brought some friends to my cabin in Pender Harbor. Mainly I was women, and some girls kind of understood I was on a journey of not drinking, but I never pushed that on anyone. I just said, this is what we're doing. If I'm not drinking, but I'm not going to stop other people from drinking. And it was so interesting because the journey that other women went on, they came, and one woman said to me, Andrea, I had a case of wine, and the normal trip I would have would be, I would finish that whole case. I'd feel terrible. I wouldn't feel good. And what happened was she ended up not even opening up the wine. We got to spend time together doing yoga, and all of a sudden, like, one person got it, the next person got it. The girls that did drink regretted that they drank, and they wished that they got to connect. And everyone started to see there was a different way. I just didn't know it. I didn't know that there was you can have fun and not drink. And I found that because we're all together and other people weren't drinking and we weren't drinking, it just made it easier. So then I made a decision, okay, you know what, how is Flourish can be different than any other women's group out there? Well, let's be conscious. Let's make a decision. If I'm on this journey, I'm committed. All right, let's do it. Let's throw events that just don't include alcohol, and let's have fun. And I can't believe how much of a need, there's a huge need for this. I didn't even know it, but people are coming up to me and, Andrea, I'm so glad that you have a group like this, because I go to an event and people are pushing alcohol on me, and especially around Christmas, I didn't want to drink, but everyone just kind of forces you, because if you don't drink, I don't know why, but it seems people that do drink, they like get mad at you for not drinking with them. I'm like, so now it just sort of removes that awkwardness, and people know that, you don't have to be 100% sober to join a Flourish event. I have women that come, but it's just that, like, it's almost like a Just for 24. It's a weekend away or an event where you can come, and alcohol is just not part of it. And what the women are realizing is we have a ton of fun. So we do 4 events a year. We typically we do one in the fall, one in the spring. We had one planned in May. We're going to go to Whistler there's a beautiful hotel in Whistler. So we do lots of things together. We hike, we do yoga. I bring in different speakers. So we just are here. The whole concept of Flourish is thrive together. We want to see everyone do better, not just in one aspect of your life, but in terms of your business. We want to support each other in business, health, wellness, spirituality, basically all aspects. I have a partner in this who's 22 years sober, so she's very knowledgeable. And yeah, we just want to bring more of a conscious level living and fun into our group. I hope I covered that well. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea. And it's just amazing how all different levels of sobriety, of accomplishments that have come from our broken, and each one of you are on a journey that you're able to share here today. So I want to thank you. We have Bobby here and Jessica. And we're really hoping, Bobby, that we've got some time for you to share a little bit. It's about 4:17, and we really want to be able to have a good time to actually have prayer. 4:24 is that 1 minute of silence, is about all of those who are living like we are, who are supporting someone like we are, like us, but also the ones that we've lost on this battle. There's so many, even right now, I've heard many that have lost their lives on the fight of recovery. And we want to take a moment of silence together as a community at 4:24. And I thought, whatever everybody believes of higher being or whatnot is bring your own understanding of that at this time. But we felt that it was really important to have a prayer led. And I'm really grateful to have Jess and Bobby here to be able to lead us. So take it away, guys. Actually, I guess Brooke will have to unmute.
How do we know when we're unmuted?
You're unmuted.
We're unmuted. Hello, everyone. I'm Bobby.
Hi,
This is
I'm
Jessica. Great. Yeah. So, you know, so I got some things I can talk about. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for everything that they said and their experience and their piece on what brings them to a center of how to love themselves better and keep themselves on track. You know, I've got a little bit of a different story, and we're all different. We all have different stories, which is probably the coolest part about it, right? So, you know, speaking from my experience and from my opinion, like, so I've had 40 years, right? I'm 41 years old. I've had 40 years of trying things my way, and you know, basically what trying things my way looks like is control and trying to control everything and watching everything get out of control and trying to control it more, and this leads to frustration and knowing that I'm for me for a long time, because when things got chaotic, I could drink and nothing would matter, and there was no consequences, and even if there was consequences, I wouldn't care. I'd be able to drink them away. And you know, I'm an alcoholic, and I always needed something other than myself to fill that void. Well, so you know, it was pretty cool when I got into the steps, and I was able to remove lots of that carnage and see that there was a solution. And the solution for me was God, you know, and it's important for me that, you know, it is God, and it's not a door, and it's not a rock, and it's not an ashtray. It's absolutely important that it's not those things. God has power. There's a supernatural power, and there's a spirit that we were all born with. There's a spirit that we're born with that we can either feed or not feed. And for me, what I did was I took that spirit and I damaged it, and I buried it amongst things of you know, hatred and violence and self-pity and anger and remorse and guilt and shame and all these things, right? So it wasn't until I was able to start working on those things and remove those things from my life that I could see that spirit that I was born with start growing, and when I started maturing spiritually, I was able to get outside myself, because what I do on my own is I end up going to the gym, and so there's 4 things I need to work on. You know, there's spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional aspects of my life that I need to keep healthy. And for me, you know, if all I do is physically work on myself, and I only get physically better, but for me to get spiritually well, you know, I need to invite God into my life, right? So like for me, without God, I'm nothing. You know, and as the saying goes, you know, worry about nothing and pray about everything. So I'm constantly in prayer, and prayer for me keeps me in on top of being grateful and humble, and knowing that when I surrender my will and my life to God, things start falling into place. Because like I said, from my past, I've seen what I'm capable of. And when things are left to my own devices and the decisions I make, my world falls apart. And I end up taking a drink again because I can't live in the life that I create on my own. So it's 4:22. I don't know if it's 4:22 on you guys. But so you want me to pray right at 4:24 in 2 minutes?
Pray now and quiet.
We're going to take a moment of silence right at 4:24. If you want to take a minute to pray, 2 minutes to pray, that's up to you. But we want to start the moment of silence right at 4:24. So if you want to maybe lead us into prayer up to 4:24, and then we'll be quiet after.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so God, I just want to come to you and just Lord, like I'm a sinner, and we're sinners, Lord, and we don't know always what we're doing. So we ask you to forgive our sins, the ones we know about, the ones we don't know about. We praise you, God, because you promise us that you use all things great and all the great things and all the horrific things. You use them for your good, God. And we praise you for that, Lord God. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing in this world, Lord God, the work that you have done in this world, God. And I want to thank you for the work that you're going to continue doing, Lord God. Our faith in you is so strong that I thank you for answering our prayers, Lord God, and listening to us. And I just ask you to come into our lives, and Lord God, I ask for your protection. I ask that you put your healing hand over every member going on in this world right now. Every member of society, Lord God, the people in position of authority, Lord God, the police, the government, the politicians, the school system, Lord God, the children of this world. I ask that you put your healing hand on them, and that you bless them, and that you protect them, Lord God, and you just use these opportunities for us to sit and meditate and listen to you speak to us. And I ask that you build a home in our hearts, God, and that you teach us, and that these teachings become contagious in our communities as we walk, so that we can glorify your name and all of your goodness, and just praise and worship you, Lord God, because you're good. And your love for us is so strong and amazing, Lord God. And I just thank you for these things. And I pray these things in your son, Jesus' name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. That was awesome. It is 4:24, so we're just going to take a moment to sit in silence, meditate, in prayer, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And just keep in mind those people that are still struggling out there with addiction and are having trouble getting help right now.
Darn it. Oh, Jessica, we tried so hard, everybody, for you guys to list this incredible voice. It went on last night with no problems, even when we switched the live stream like this just to hear it. And I apologize. But what we are going to do is we are going to have her again live on a better feed. Right, Jess? This gal's voice was found through recovery. She never even knew how to sing. And I had such a moment with her when I was filming it. I'm getting all emotional. So, Brooke, take it away. I can't speak. I'm all emotional.
Oh, it's been such an amazing time. I just want to thank everyone for coming. We have one more speaker, Shalou, who's going to come and share on resources that everyone can tap into right now during this time. And also, we're going to be giving away 6 counseling sessions with Uplift Wellness, which is what Shalou runs. So if you're watching this live stream, or if you have shared and used the hashtag just424, or if you've registered for this event, you'll be entered into the draw for 6 free counseling sessions. So Shalou, can we get you to take it away?
Hi. Oh.
Hey, sorry, that was me.
No, can everybody hear me? Okay, so I'm Shalou. I'm the owner of Uplift Wellness and Counseling. And I've been doing some work with Brooke and Suzanne in the Seek Purpose community. And I don't know how I'm going to follow my fellow panels and all their inspiring messages. So I hope I can echo some of what's been said and give credit where it's due, and also provide some resources. So I understand that people experiencing COVID and social isolation is not an easy thing right now. I know for myself, I'm experiencing feelings that are overwhelming and fatigue, mood swings, and my body has no idea what day or what time it is. And I know it's affecting my sleep and appetite. And I'm certain that there's many more out there who feel the same way. And as this group has mentioned before, we're not alone, and that is what we're here for. So at the Seek Purpose community, I just want to say that we are all here, part of this community, to be there for everybody else. We're all here trying to be the best versions of ourselves so we can spread that towards others around us and within our community as well. So I'm like super nervous. Some of the tips and advice that I want to give is we want to prevent loss of empowerment and sustaining discipline that many people have achieved during their time of recovery. And during isolation, it is hard. And as mentioned earlier by Giuseppe, as well as Richard and Jessica, how do we come together and close that gap? And a lot of it's come down to being innovatively creative and innovatively involved and mobilizing. We are all here to mobilize. We're here to support each other, but we can't support each other if no one knows where to go. And so I do want to give a huge shout out to Seek Purpose, being that community of taking people and helping them find who they are, what their purpose is, and how to be the best version of themselves. Anyone experiencing mental fatigue or emotional drain or burnout, one thing I do want to stress is definitely sustain your connections that you currently have. I know it's hard. A lot of us miss being interactive with our loved ones. You know, I miss seeing my parents, I miss hugging my friends and family, and I can only imagine how the rest of the world would feel in not having that kind of contact as well. And it's hard on us. And so we do have to find ways to get creative, and we could be simple as attending Zoom, as it was mentioned earlier, having Zoom parties. There's house parties online. There's FaceTime. There's all sorts of online platforms out there that can help people come together and foster a safe community where we can still feel like where we belong. And a lot of it is having to do with how to stay present, stay in the moment, and go with what's happening and find resilience and find innovation within that resilience. Individuals who are experiencing stress, communicate it to your loved ones or communicate it to professionals around you. Being able to identify the feelings is pivotal. I say that if you can name it, you can tame it. So take that power away from whatever you're feeling that's burdening you or bringing it down. Take that power back. Name it, identify it, share it with those people you trust, loved ones, or a professional to help you work through it. Some ways to cope that I've been working on is stay connected. manage your media coverage. I know every minute, every second, we're hearing and reading all sorts of things that's happening around the world, and it's devastating. And I know for myself, I am trying to find ways to follow media coverage that's more positive and helpful and uplifting, and being here, for example. But definitely manage your media coverage and what you're reading, what you're watching, and being aware of how it affects you. I also want to recommend following a calm yet cautious approach. That forces us to exercise the use of mindfulness with what we're doing, what we're saying, how we feel about things as well. Do your best to show compassion and kindness. It does wonders for not only our well-being, but for those around us that we share it with as well. And acknowledging that coping during isolation is hard. I honestly don't even know what day it is. Is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday? Is it Friday? It's starting to catch up. So acknowledging that this is hard can help you come up with ideas of how to overcome this barrier that we're all going through as a global community. Some tips for that would be try exploring new perspectives, new ideas with your social circle. As mentioned before, finding creative ways to stay connected, practicing generosity and kindness however you can, and put our well-being first, as mentioned before by our previous panel members. Always put your well-being first. Find ways that's conducive to your well-being that'll promote positive coping behaviors, and that'll help you not think about maladaptive practices or behaviors. Some resources available is definitely, the first one in mind is the Psychology Today resource. There are tons of practicing therapists online at the moment who are ready and able to be of service for anybody in need. And now that we are tech-savvy world these days, we are all available however we can. And for those people who are unable to access services or are finding financial hardship, you're more than welcome to visit my website, upliftwellness.ca. It's also posted through Seek Purpose. You can find me through there. And so people who might have financial hardship and services, we do have sorry, the word just slipped my mind. Sliding scales and subsidized services as well. And so again, we want to work towards creating greater access, minimal barriers, doesn't matter what your circumstances are. Another one is the Mental Health Commission of Canada. They have amazing resources. One of them, they are spending a lot of money and a lot of time in their substance misuse coping resource that they have up there. They have a toolkit mobilization program for mental health that teaches people on mental hygiene, how our brain responds to stress, and what are things we can do to alleviate those stressors as well. That also offers toolkits and webinars for understanding mental hygiene a lot better. And again, coping in positive ways, coping healthy, positive practices. I'm so nervous.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Shalu, for all those resources. And I don't know about any of you, but I've got to pee really, really bad. The patients that we went on, be sitting here for actually over an hour and a half, all of our panel. I can't tell you, that is a lot. This is the first annual Just for 24. It won't be our last. Thinking out of the box of how we can communicate, how we can grow as a community is what we're going to be doing, right, Giuseppe? we got to be some creativeness here, and I thank each and every one of you for what you're doing out there to just trying to help and inspire and bring hope to so many. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us today. We love you. And is there any questions on the floor, Brooke?
We did actually have a question about anonymity. One person is wondering how that comes into play while we're sharing online so openly like this. Like, where is anonymity in that? And I'd love to hear what everyone thinks about that. Maybe starting with Giuseppe. I know you speak a lot about it.
So yeah, this comes up a lot, especially when it comes to Recovery Day and so forth. It was a big hurdle we had in the very beginning. The simplest way to respond to that is anonymity doesn't mean invisibility. Anonymity doesn't mean that we can't share our lived experience. I truly believe for my own self and what I've been taught from my peers and people in longer term recovery than me is I'm not taking, you know, a certain fellowship and saying, you know, I represent them and you know, come to me and I'll teach you about this program, and you know, you're good, you're doing well because of, you know, me. Actually, if it was up to me, you probably wouldn't be doing well. No, I'm kidding. I'm not taking any of your wellness on. Like, it's not me, it's you and your higher power and your recovery journey. And just because I say I'm sober doesn't mean I'm an AAer. And it's just this big noise out there that is really simple. I'm not invisible. You know, everyone says, you know, 3 people a day are dying, and you know, 5,000 Canadians are passed away from overdoses. The numbers are way higher when you add nicotine, alcohol, drugs. You know, the numbers are over 80,000 a year just in Canada alone. I owe it to Recover Out Loud. And yeah, I'm not preaching any 12-step language and this is what you have to do. And I feel that that's what that's about. And I'm grateful that we have the traditions in 12-step fellowships, because it clearly outlines if I am and if I'm not. I do believe anybody that does take a public voice in the recovery sphere should do work around the traditions of the fellowship that they're part of. I have, and I've got a pretty clear conscience. So thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you, Giuseppe. Is there anyone else that wants to take on that topic?
Sure, I do. Am I on?
You're on.
Yeah, for me, the anonymity, as it states, is a spiritual ideal. And to me, it speaks mostly about how I feel about myself and my relationship to my higher power, not in relationship to politics or the media or things like that. I've been on the stage a long time. I've performed literally hundreds of shows for a variety of different forms of recovery, whether that be 12-step conventions or Recovery Day for Giuseppe, or you know, all sorts of things like that. I personally choose not to use the names and the letters associated with those fellowships in a public forum. Although, you know, when I do conventions that are specifically 12-step fellowships, then I have a great deal of fun using those names. So it's a personal choice. Publicly, I don't use those letters and names because I don't want to out the people that, you know, I associate with. If you saw me standing on a street corner, you know, talking to our lovely host, you go, what the heck is that woman doing talking to him? I think she's in danger. And in fact, and they go, oh, she's probably in that fellowship. I don't want that responsibility to, I leave that up, you know, up to her to express her, who her associations are with and what her beliefs are. Spiritually, I believe in being anonymous, and that I am simply one of God's beautiful children and nothing more, nothing less than that. So that's all I have on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard. Is there anyone else that has anything to say, or should we move on to the next question?
Can I jump in on anonymity?
Absolutely.
I did not get sober through a program at all for the first many years of my recovery, but I still embraced anonymity because I was terrified. I had no idea what my addiction meant about who I was, and I had no idea what my recovery meant about who I was. And eventually, when I was about 2 years into recovery, and I was very active, even in anonymity in online groups and in helping other people, I decided one day that I would post my picture, because I knew that whenever I saw an article of people who talked about being sober, often there would be these sort of sensational, you know, stars who are sober things. And I would stare at those pictures. I would stare into their eyes because I wanted to see what sobriety looked like, and if it looked like me, or if it looked, I don't know what I wanted, but I wanted to see that. And so I put my picture on my blog, not for my ego, but as a way of showing people this is what recovery looks like. This is what it looks like to be alcohol free. Maybe this looks different than what you think. Maybe this will help you feel less ashamed. And it was really helpful for me to be anonymous for a long time. And it has been really helpful to me to not be anonymous, because it is helpful to others to kind of help break the shame and stigma. And I think it's a personal choice. Only recently have I become involved with a program that requires anonymity. And I asked them, what's your thoughts on this? Am I even welcome here? Because I'm definitely not anonymous. And they sort of helped me understand how it related to that group. And honestly, they celebrate the fact that I write and talk about recovery. And so I think it's a personal choice, and it does serve us in many ways. And so does sometimes showing our face and shining our light in that way.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And I think more important than ever, because it is so hard to, if we're not out speaking online or putting our faces on the internet and telling our stories, then no one's really going to know that we're out here right now. There's nowhere else that people who haven't got recovery yet can see what it can do in your lives at the moment, because we're all avoiding each other. So I love that. I would love to know how everyone is spending their time right now and finding joy in their day sober with our new normal. Tara, do you want to start off with that?
Sure, I would love to. Thank you. This has been a very interesting exercise in trying things on. I am one who is quite invested in ritual, in practices that I know support me in my sobriety, in my life. And these times and this change has brought about an opportunity to maybe try some different things on and see how flexible I am. And so it's interesting because this time has actually unlocked a lot of things that I held resistance to for some reason. Well, you know what? I think I'm coming to appreciate my freedom more. Like there was this, like I took for granted the fact that I could go outside on a walk, that I could hop in my car and go and do something. And so this situation has unlocked this, like the outside world to me. And I mean, not that I wasn't getting outside before, but it feels different. And so just noticing the intentionality behind what I do. And that has shifted and made things more, it has more depth now. And it's subtle, but yet profound. And that's definitely something that's been present for me, is just not taking for granted that I can go out for a walk. And now I'm like, if it's 1 p.m. and I haven't gone for a walk yet, I'm like, gotta get out there, because, and even in the rain, you know, like I used to think like I can't go for a walk in the rain, or I didn't want to go for a walk in the rain. And now it's just, and it's these simple things. It doesn't have to be this huge complex shift. It can be, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it can be these smaller shifts yeah, in the subtleties, there are profound messages from source, from that highest version. And yeah, just I guess long story short, just finding a lot of intentionality in my practices, and just simplifying, just absolutely simplifying and finding the joy in simplifying things has been really, really such a gift of this situation, and something that I'm actually really having a lot of fun exploring at this time.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Tara. Can we get one more person that wants to talk on the subject of fun things to do in sobriety in quarantine? Serge, you want to go?
Yeah, I just had a call in to share because I'm like loving it. Like there is just so much love built up with all this fear out there. Like there is so much love available right now. I've been spending time in nature, taking time to enjoy, like Tara said, the little things, right? This has really allowed time to slow down. I don't know how everybody else feels. I mean, my hand's up for that. Like I am just like loving the fact that we can just all slow right down, right? And just take the day. I've actually, one of the funnest things that I've gotten to do, and it's fun and it's inspiring and it just like enlivens you, is that I got a morning routine going, right? I get to wake up, connect with spirit. I get to do meditation. I go for a walk in nature for about an hour, and then I come home and and then the day's open, right? But it's just like literally doing this practice. Like I've been talking about this stuff in our men's group, do this practice, and like finally going and having the time to like have 2-3 hours to do like this like very self-loving practice has been amazing when I've been practicing it every single day. Like it's just crazy. Like I've been having a lot more fun, right? Spending time watching movies afterwards or whatever. Like it's just it's been neat to find the enjoyment in the little things and get to do the things that I've always wanted to do but didn't have the time to do. Right? Like I'm learning to play the drums here. Like I got the djembe going, or whatever it might be. Like there's so many little things that I just enjoy picking up and getting started on. So that would be my thing. I think probably the biggest thing for me was the morning routine stuff, really taking the time to connect and to do some self-love.
Right on. Thanks for sharing. We're
problem.
almost at like 2 hours of live time here. We've taken up a lot of your day, but
How fun. I can hear my grandson upstairs going, Grandma, Grandma. And I'm like having an anxiety attack going, I don't mean to be rude, but he's like, I can hear him upstairs. I'm like in a panic and I have to pee. So did I say that already? Anyways, I just want to go over and just thank again, Richard Lett, your poetry. Where we can find you coming up in June is there's a new release coming out, Never Be Done. Amy, you are live all the time. If anybody's looking to be inspired about how to have relationship in sobriety, please check out your handle. Please, can you just tell us your handle again? Because I am not got my glasses on. Could you just
and you have to pee, so you can't think straight.
I want to get people knowing where they can find you. Because
y'all, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Thrive in Recovery with Amy. And then my name is my website, and I look forward to seeing you and talking to you and connecting with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. And Jessica, beautiful Jessica, who has the most awesome guides of sobriety that's available. Jessica, give us your handles, please. And
I can be found at A Sober Girl's Guide, and that's A Sober Girl Guide like across the board. So Facebook, Instagram, website, YouTube, TikTok, literally everything. And also I wanted to mention every Wednesday I'm doing a Zoom call called Happier Hour. Suzanne's been on it. And it's just like a fun, casual, like meetup, hangout space. Last week I did one of my favorite mocktails, which included a watermelon. And just like, it's just really fun. And we just hang out and talk. And there's literally girls from all over the world. It's really cool.
And it's not heavy. That's what I like about it. You get a meeting, it can be kind of heavy. This is really light. So if anybody wants to check out a really cool meetup that's light and fun, I would highly recommend.
Happy birthday, by the way.
And happy birthday. Thank you. Jessica just turned 30.
35.
There. I was going to go like this. Yes.
Okay. Well, 30. Let's just cap it at 30.
Yeah. Holding at 29.
I like you. I knew I liked you.
Happy. My goodness. Amazing what you're doing in the community, and that crowd behind really demonstrates what happens when one individual has a dream and a passion to be able to carry a message into our communities. So have a last few words.
Well, first off, I want to say not just one individual. There's an army of us, a huge army. Lorinda, Susan. I mean, the names are unbelievable. And thank you to all the volunteers that do all of our events and so forth. And too many websites. Lastdoor.org is where I work. That's where my heart is. Every day we have a youth program, adult program. You can catch us on our Talk Recovery radio show. I'm going to invite everyone here to be guests pretty soon. It's facebook.com, Talk Recovery Vancouver, and Recovery Month, recoverymonth.ca. We have big plans. They're in the process of being reinvented, and more will be revealed. We have a cutoff date for about May 30th. So June 1st, we're going to be making an announcement on what's going on for our Pride events, Recovery Day, the Recovery Capital Conference. Oh, really important, if I can have 10 seconds.
Yes.
We are launching a new online tool and a new app. It's called My Recovery Plan, and it's a opportunity for individuals who use drugs, individuals who are in recovery, families of people who have loved ones, doing heroin in their basements, or husbands that are drinking every day, and wives, and clinicians that have people that use substances or in recovery, to be able to score an individual's recovery capital on a daily basis. And you, depending on what your score is, you can find ways to build your recovery capital. Evidence shows people who have high recovery capital, not just sustained recovery, but live better lives overall. And so that's the next big project. Because just got to have too many, but it's called My Recovery Plan, coming out very soon, and it's going to come out during Recovery Month Canada. So stay tuned for that.
Woo! That's amazing. You couldn't stop at the first one, could you, Giuseppe?
No.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Thank you so much. And Jean, Bubble Hour. Words. Amazing podcast, by the way, for anybody who really wants to be inspired and hear some, your podcast. Just, I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, the Bubble Hour is in season 8 right now. So there's 300 plus episodes in the archives. I was trying to explain to my 82-year-old mother the other day what a podcast is, and she didn't understand, what 8 seasons even really meant. And I told her, if you listen to every episode back to back, it would take you over 10 days to listen to all the material, all the stories, and all the lives that have been changed. So I'm really honored to be a part of that. So you can find that wherever you get podcasts. And the blog is Unpickled. And I'm on Instagram, Jean McCarthy Writes. The books are on Amazon. If you search for Jean McCarthy or Unpickled, you'll find them. And the new poetry book is out in June. And I'm terrified and excited and glad to be here. So I think that's all my info.
Thank you so much, Jean. It's been a pleasure to have you, all of you, of course. And that takes us to Christina from the Hearth. You want to give your, From the Hearth, right? Is that how they can find you? Okay, From the Hearth. And Serge, we already have someone on the panel today wanting to get a hold of you and be a part of your men's group. So Serge, Brotherhood Consciousness held, there's a Zoom. We'll put it in some show notes after at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. Is that right, Serge?
Yeah, it's the Conscious Brotherhood. On Tuesday nights, we do you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So you can just add there and, like the page and send us a message, and we'll set you up with the Zoom ID and everything you need.
Fabulous. And Flourish and Thrive left. And Lindsay, we're following you. Can we just be stalkers on your feed, because I just love it, what you do for recovery?
I love every time you comment on anything. I'm on Instagram. My handle is Mind, Body, Soul, Lindsay. Yeah, check it out.
Nice. And of course, Bobby and beautiful Jessica, how can we hear you sing again live? When can we hear you sing live again? Can you unmute her, Brooke?
Hi. You can follow me on Open Mic Ministries, all one word on Instagram.
Yes, Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you. And Bobby, we'll keep in contact. I know you've been affected with some of the amazing things you're doing out in the community for Hope for Freedom and donations, and we're definitely going to be in touch to see what we can do to help and support you in that way.
hopeforfreedom.org.
There we go. Got it. And Shalou, Uplift Wellness, love you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all the resources available. And upliftwellness.ca, correct? Awesome. Okay, well, we'll end it here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out, showing up, and sharing. We're so honored to be able to host you today, and keep it going. All of you at home that are watching, go share on your own timelines and hashtag just424. Share your story, share how you're staying sober today. Let's spread some experience, strength, and hope.